Feels like spring already, huh?
It's supposed to hit 60 this week, they're saying.
Yeah. Actually, I hung a load of laundry in the line this morning. It's so nice. I mean, in some ways it's great, but it is kind of like weird.
HC, yeah, does not feel normal at all. Unnaturally good weather.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a company you're going to want to come visit and talk sometime? And my boys also are, I'd say, risky skiers. They like to ski off trail, like they're one of those, you know, they like to do the in the glades type stuff. Which you can get some of that here on the East Coast, but when you go out to like when they were in British Columbia, there's like just massive amounts of to go completely like off trail and do these like super steep like jumps, trees.
So much older and smaller, it's hard to hit that.
Yeah. Like I think Killington has some of that and all that, but even this year it's probably not as good because they don't blow snow in those areas. That's
right. That's also stuck with the natural snow in those spots.
Yeah. We're always worried about stupid things. They're good kids, so when they're 20, they still take chances.
Still in that invincible age.
Yeah. But they stick together. One thing they, when they went to the avalanche, and skiing, they're like, yeah, stick around. This is the areas we hit.
These are some of them.
Yeah. But they're pretty capable. So. Yeah, I mean,
Let us settle into a spirit of worship first with our prelude this morning, Waltz for the Lonely by Atkins and Goodrum. You are also invited to light a silent candle of joy or sorrow at this time. Oops. Excuse me.
Good morning. While we're waiting for Aaron, I just wanted to say hi, I'm Robin, and I am the Director of Religious Exploration here at the church. And I'd just like to tell you a cool thing that happened yesterday. We had a youth conference at First Unitarian downtown. We had 60 youth from 4 states all gather. We had many people from this church run workshops. We had a youth from this church run a workshop. We had a full day, and we had a worship at the end, led and run by the youth, and it was fabulous. So I'm very proud that we were able to do this, and made a lot of connections with the youth in around New England.
Doing 2 services on a Sunday morning. I'm going to be covering for a colleague at Worcester Fellowship this afternoon, meant 2 files in the car. I thought I had the right one. We light this chalice in the names of love. The love of family that brings us into being, allows us to bloom, and then sends us on our way with courage, knowing we can return no matter what. The love of partnered hearts that teach us to trust and help us know that we are who we are does not end at the barrier of our own skin. The love of friends who help us feel seen and sing our song back to us when we cannot hear it with our ears alone. The love of community that bathes us in belonging and calls us to see the needs of others as our own. And the greatest love, the love that will not let us go, even in our fear, even in our failure, even when we are lonely or lost. Love invites us home. If we listen, it is doing so, even today. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, a congregation of love, hope, and justice, inspiring people to take on the challenges of a changing world. My name is Payson, and I am one of the ministers who is blessed to serve this congregation. We begin by acknowledging that in Worcester, Massachusetts, we work, learn, and live and worship on the seized ancestral homeland of the Nipmuc people, who survive and remain active as the Nipmuc Nation. We offer a special welcome to those of you who are new or visiting with us for the first time this morning. We are delighted that you are here. We hope that you'll join us in Fellowship Hall following the service for refreshments and conversation. If you have questions or desire more information about this service or any of the ministries and programs of this congregation, please do not hesitate to
That's
ask.
interesting. Well, the land that this church is on, I guess, was owned. Maybe the
Turn
land
the-
that Worcester Academy was on. I mean,
Maybe they were talking about different parts.
oh,
Or just do different things then.
Honestly, I love that. If you have questions, ask the person who's watching the video and have them explain it to you in the moment, because it's really, really important that some of these questions get answered immediately. But if you do have questions, please do not hesitate to ask any of us. If we don't know the answer, we will point you in the direction of someone who does. We invite you to fill out one of the pew cards found in the pew holders in front of you, and you can put these cards in the offering plate or give them to one of our ushers or greeters as you exit this morning. For those of you joining us online, we offer you a very special welcome. For safety purposes, so that we might come to know you better as you're able, please do place your name on your video feed. Please take a moment to sign one of the attendance clipboards that are now being circulated. Though you're not obligated to sign, we appreciate your information and we use it only for church purposes. During the service, we offer an opportunity to share a brief personal joy or sorrow. If you would like yours to be read aloud by me, please print it on an index card found in the pew before you and drop it into the collection plate as it comes around, or bring it forward with you at the time of joys and sorrows, and I will be glad to read it. These cards will also be posted outside my office to be shared with our friends at other services. For those online, you're welcome to place a joy or sorrow in the chat. Please precede it by the words, "Please read," so that we can find it quickly, and we will also share those during this time in the service. In the foyer, there are listening devices and large print orders of service and hymnals for those who may find their assistance beneficial. Please see one of our ushers who can assist you in finding them as you desire. I invite you now to turn your technology to worship mode, which maybe requires some explanation. If you are beyond a certain age, it probably means turning it off, or at least putting it on silent. If you are below a certain age, it means to begin tweeting or Instagramming or texting live, whatever it is that strikes your fancy in the moment. And if you're not certain what age you are, do whatever feels best to you. And finally, please note the announcements on the back of your program. There will be time for short verbal announcements following the postlude. We are so glad that you are here, and we hope this morning is an opportunity for rest, reflection, and rejuvenation. Been thinking a lot about all of the activity this weekend in the congregation, between our game night on Friday night that saw how many people? 28. And 60 of our youth plus 15 adults that spent the day yesterday at First Unitarian. You would think that we need to add to our vision statement, "Come and play with us," because that is so much a part of who we are as a community, but it is more than play. It is actually communion. It is the ability to find people who are like-hearted in the world and to spend time developing friendships and getting to know each other in a far more deep way than we are often given the opportunity to do so in our work lives and other places in our community. So I share these words by my colleague, Gretchen Haley. For this one moment, know that you are loved, that you are safe and whole and loved. Know that you belong here among us, here upon this earth, in your body, however tired or broken your heart may be, whatever fear, disappointment, anger you carry. For this hour, know that you are not alone. Feel the presence of others surrounding you, breathing beside you and with you, discovering together the way our voices rise and fall together in harmony, in hope. Claim here a resilient freedom, the choice for love, for light, to live with joy and gratitude and praise as a form of resistance. Already we are organizing. Come, let us worship together. Would you join together in our opening hymn in your, eighth principle, I'm sorry, Evan. Sneak up like that.
I shouldn't have done that. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. I'm Evan Wilson. UUCW's 8th Principle Task Force aims to educate and inspire our community to incorporate anti-racist and anti-oppressive commitments as part of our faith. The 8th Principle Moment is a monthly opportunity to think more deeply about how racism and oppression manifest in our everyday lives and continue to hold such issues in the forefront of our hearts and mind. So who doesn't love a good field trip? I miss field trips. So luckily, Side with Love Task Force took a field trip this past week, Tuesday, down to the public library to a very powerful film called I, Too, hosted by a group called Indivisible. The film was directed by a professor, Carol Anderson from Emory University. And in an hour, she packed a personal, historical look, as well as, kind of an academic and, documentary, looking at the January 6th insurrection in a much broader historical context. And in her framing, she was saying, well, there's lots of moments in our history that look just like this, but it's likely been kind of erased from our history, or we haven't actively examined it. So the film was quite moving and powerful. It was nice also to be in community at the film with several other folks from this community, from the Side with Love group. It seemed very fitting in February, Black History Month, to see a film that reminds us that American history includes Black history, despite other national efforts to the contrary. So the folks at Indivisible made the film available, so looking forward to very likely bring the film here. The film took the same name as Langston Hughes' 1926 poem, I Too, which I will close with. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America.
Let us join together in our opening hymn, number 131, Love Will Guide Us, found in your gray hymnals. Please rise in body or in spirit. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. Please be seated. We come to that time in our service called Change for Change, where the youngest among us bring their baskets forward and invite those who have change today to contribute to the ongoing emergency fund of this congregation, which serves a host of needs for members and friends here, as well as those in the community, to offer such in service to the ongoing mission of this congregation. If you have change to be shared this morning, please raise your hand, and one of our folks will be by to receive it. And you can bring those forward to me. Whoop. Hiding baskets, are we? I get it. Story is adapted from a story told by the theologian Richard Rohr. Once upon a time, a small Jewish boy went to his rabbi and said he didn't know how to love God. "How can I love God when I've never seen God?" asked the boy. "I think I understand how to love my parents and my siblings and even those in my neighborhood, but how am I supposed to learn to love the divine?" Rabbi looked at the little boy and said, "Start with a stone. Try to love a stone. Try to be present to the most simple and basic thing in reality so you can see its goodness and its beauty. Then let that goodness and beauty come into you. Let it speak to you. Start with a stone." The boy nodded with understanding. "Then, when you can love a stone," the rabbi continued, "try a flower. See if you can love a flower. See if you can be present to it and let its beauty come into you. See if you can let its life come into you and you can give yourself to it. You don't have to pluck it, possess it, or destroy it. You can just love it over there in the garden." So says the garden team. "I'm not saying it's wrong to pick flowers," added the rabbi. Ouch. "I'm just asking you learn something from the flower without putting it in a vase." The boy smiled, which meant he understood. Or maybe he didn't. Just in case he didn't, the rabbi chose the boy's pet dog as the next object of loving and listening. The boy nodded and smiled when the rabbi talked about his dog. He even said, "Yes, Rabbi." And then the rabbi went on, "Try to love the sky and the mountains, the beauty of all creation. Try to be present to it in its many forms. Let it speak to you and let it come into you." The boy sensed the rabbi wanted to say something more, so he nodded again as if he understood. And then said the rabbi, "Try loving people. Try to be faithful to others and sacrifice yourself for them. After you have loved a stone and a flower and your dog, the mountain and the sky and people, then you're ready to love the divine. More on this to come. As I said earlier, this has been a really fun weekend and a very fun week in many ways. Not only did we have those gatherings at First Unitarian, and on Tuesday night, people going to see a movie together, and on Saturday, yesterday, the game night on Friday night with all of the people here. I went and saw Hamilton on Thursday night, but that's just me. So, but we play, right? You know, we do that. And then like 15 people got together yesterday for the really fun task of talking about buildings and grounds here. And I'm thinking to myself, y'all don't have enough to do. But I was so grateful that people took the time and had the energy and the creativity to think about this place as a place worth both maintaining and developing as a source for all of these kinds of things that give us joy and help provide activities of meaning and worth and value. And it's just one example of what happens on one weekend and in 1 week over the course of the year here. It's extraordinary to me, the amount of love and attention and energy that people have for each other. It is what exhilarates me and gives me a sense that this is, in fact, the way that we serve the world and save the planet all in one fell swoop. And it is in service to that vision that we come together every Sunday, and during that time we offer an opportunity for people to give that which is symbolic of their own efforts, their own values, things that help us connect to that which is deepest in this place in a very real way, so that we can continue to build a community of love, hope, and justice, inspiring people to take on the challenges of a changing world. So I invite you to participate in this morning's offering. If you'd like to contribute digitally, because you know there are those who are carrying cash and those who aren't, you're welcome to text 508-231-5335 and to follow the instructions on the screen, and that will be recorded as well. At this time, our morning offering will be received. So let me just tell you that this is a congregation that takes seriously its obligations to not only support the minister, but correct him when he makes a glaring error. And the glaring error that was made this morning, just so you know, is that the other activity this week that garnered huge response was the meet and greet that our the committee, the connections team hosted for newcomers that garnered 12. So there's indeed just so much energy to be celebrated here, which is really my joy and sorrow this morning, as we come to this time when we're given pause to consider what is deepest in our hearts or most profoundly on our minds or in the work of our hands in the days that have transpired, or in the prospect of days to come. Joys and sorrows that are given another measure of meaning because of our capacity to share them in the midst of a company that claims us as a co-journeyer. So I invite those of you who have joys or sorrows this day to form lines on either side of the sanctuary, to buckle your seatbelts, to come and speak briefly into the microphone, telling us first who you are so that those using our auditory enhancement devices or are online with us this morning might also participate in this important ritual, and then to light a candle of joy or sorrow if you desire. Are there joys or sorrows to be shared this day?
Hi, my name is Laura. Two joys and a frustration. First joy is I couldn't find a parking spot here this morning, so that was really cool. I just made my own. Another joy today, so we really need to talk about what the important game that's happening today is actually at 2, which is the Puppy Bowl. Yeah. I did contemplate blowing off church because they were pre-gaming and they were showing all these puppies and where they came from, and that's why I was late. My frustration / sorrow is the mental health crisis that so many are having. It's just turning into like a news thing, and then we forget. A week ago that somebody put a weighted vest on and jumped the Quinsigamond Bridge. And that's just like a norm now. The bashing of the Blessed Sacrament Church in the Tatnick Square next door chat on basically how there are so many other churches in Worcester. We don't need it here. It's disgusting. Every stop sign, red light, what have you, there's a homeless person. Many are barely awake because they are just surviving and getting their money to probably be so drunk or high that they can't feel how goddamn cold it is outside. Watching my daughter soon becoming one of them is just as frustrating. It's frustrating that people of power have meetings and State of the Union addresses about how things are so important and how we need to address them. I don't feel that a mental health crisis should be in the same speech as making sure that we get our hotels and our perks at luxury resorts. I don't think that deserves the same conversation. Because in a week or two or a month or a year, there's going to be several more jumping from that bridge, and we're going to say, oh, how awful. But as long as it doesn't happen in our town, in our street, or in my neighborhood, it just seems to be like the new norm. And the thing is that's frustrating is those people that are homeless and are lost are being in charge of their own mental health, and it really does not matter to the higher ups.
Hi, my name's Annie Armstrong. I have a couple joys and a sorrow, and I guess I'll start with the sorrow. For a friend of mine who I hadn't been in great touch with over the last several years passed away last weekend. I'm not totally sure of the cause at this point, but she was somebody who took me under her wing when I first moved to Virginia, and I'll miss her being in the world. And then my joys are that my daughter, we moved to this area in July, and my daughter has been telling me that she has no friends here yet, and she finally has said that she has a friend. So I'm glad. There's a lovely little girl who just they seem like two peas in a pod now. And then my second joy is that since we moved back to Massachusetts, I'm close to my in-laws, close to my parents in Duxbury. We're all getting together for the Super Bowl today. I'm just really grateful to be close to family again.
Hey everyone, can you hear me okay? Just want to make sure this time around. My name is Raina Keaton, and I just, my wife Nikki and my son Kai have been coming to church since the end of the summer. And we were not here last week because one of our dogs wasn't doing so well and has now since passed. And so if my son mentions it to your children, he has lots of thoughts about it, and we're kind of contemplating that my dog might be a frog now because he likes lots of flies and things. So he might be explaining that to your kids, and in case you're wondering, if you can just keep our family. We're a little sad this week, but we're doing all right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paul, and one of the things that I've been sharing with you about my brother who's in the hospital and the saga that he's going through, and they finally said they're going to be putting him in hospice, so, which is, it is what it is as far as I'm concerned. The only thing that I'm very frustrated, well, many things I'm frustrated with, but the thing that, trying to gather up all the information about his insurance policies when he passes, and I guess in a way I didn't realize he was such a control freak because, I thought that he'd done all this pre-work before, and he didn't, So meanwhile, I'm like, and I've had enough things to do it. I'm very frustrated, and I need a hug. But, and I got a joy too, once again, to see a lot of people here, okay? I did find a parking spot. Yeah. Well, we can do that here, Actually, on this thing here too, so. But it's good to, and it seems like everything's working nicely. If you notice, we're using the wireless microphones. I mean the wired microphone, because this one I can walk away from it, you can still hear me. The other one you have to really be like this. So that's it.
My name is Craig Van Battenberg, my wife Deborah. Last Saturday, 8 days ago, we got a gift. And the gift was a young girl who just aged out of foster homes. And on December 9th, she turned 18 and decided to try to make it on her own. So she left and went with her grandmother, and that didn't work out. And I got a phone call and said, there's a girl that's going to be thrown out of a house. She's up in Essex. I'm not going to use her name. And she needs a place to stay. So Deb and I were just relaxing on a Saturday afternoon, and we hopped in our car and drove up and found this lovely young girl who's been in foster home for 13 or 14 years. We know her mother. And she's living at a little apartment that I happen to have that I keep as an office. And my wife and I, if you don't know, adopted two boys who also lived in foster homes, one for 15 years. So it was a gift because we never had a daughter. We had two boys. And God bless my wife, who's been spending every day with her. But there's hope in the world that young girls who, for whatever reason, end up not on the street, not with a weighted vest, but with a home and a future. And she's bright, and she's articulate. And I was holding her in my arms the other day, both crying, just about what happened to her. And she's lovely, and she was supposed to be at church this morning, but she couldn't quite get up in time. I went to see her this morning. She lives around the corner. So you'll meet her, And her story's her own, but if you want to know, she probably will tell you what happened. So, thanks.
Hi, I'm Liz. I'm new, and I want to say like one of my joys is thank you for welcoming me. I'm big into activism, so I was told this would be the place for me. Yep. And then I also, because of the theme being love, I want to just like put an intention out there for all of those who've been killed due to racism, especially Breonna Taylor and Tyree Nichols. They really hit me. I was 28 and now I'm 29. So they were the same age as me, and it easily could have been me. I'm mixed, light skinned, but yeah. And I also have another intention for my son Kyle, who died. He was murdered too. Not by the cops or anything, but by an ex. His anniversary was January 26th.
It's a day for hugs.
It has come to my attention that I have been gone for a while and I didn't realize it. My name is Cheryl. I'm one of the ministers here. My family just went through a major family loss. We lost one more parent, now have only one parent left. And as we approach a day of love, I want to hold in love, as you all have held me in love, all of those of us who have lost parents in the last couple of years. There have been so many, and I add Liz to us for having lost a child. And anyone else that needs to have someone hug them for grief, come to me. I can't walk very well. That's my other love. You know, y'all accept me in all my brokenness, and it just seems to keep getting a little bit more here and there, and I still feel loved. Thank you for the chair, choir.
Let us be in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, source of our inner and outermost being, we come today with arms that embrace those who grieve and those who celebrate. Mindful today of the myriad struggles for mental wellness and for physical health, for the opportunity to serve a bruised and hurting world and to remember those who have been bruised and hurt. We also come with the hope in our hearts that we can respond when the call of love is made, that we can open our hearts and our homes, that we can provide what is necessary for someone to discover their own meaning and worth. Give us the courage in those moments to offer our best selves. There is so much to do in the world, and yet on this day, as we talk of love, let us also remember to be that which is important for each of us. A self that remembers they can love, they are love, and they will love. Amen. And blessed be. So, in honor of that vision of love, how many of you are aware that Bonnie Raitt won the best. And how many of you have listened to the song? How many of you know the story behind it? So for those of you who don't, Bonnie Raitt was gifted with this song by two songwriting friends, and who have now said that they cover Bonnie Raitt's song even though they wrote it because of what she did. And at the risk of being thrown off Facebook this morning, I want to share it with you. The story behind it is a mother who went through the devastating, heartbreaking loss of losing a child. And that child's heart was given to another child, and that child, as a young adult, comes to visit the mother who gave that gift. It is a remarkable anthem about love. And so it is our musical meditation this morning.
I watched him circle around the block, finally stopped at mine. Took a while before he knocked, like all he had was time. Excuse me, ma'am, maybe you can help. The directions weren't so clear. I'm looking for Olivia's aunt. They said I might find her here. Well, I looked real hard and asked him what she's got he's looking for. Said there's something I think she'd want to know, and I let him in the door. It's not like me to trust so quick. Caught me by surprise, but something about him gave me ease, right there in his eyes. Just like that, your life can change. If I hadn't looked away, my boy might still be with me now. He'd be 25 today. No knife can carve away the stain, no drink can drown regret. They say Jesus brings you peace and grace. Well, he ain't found me yet. Na na na. Sat down and took a deeper breath and looked right in my face. I heard about the son you lost, how you left without a trace. I spent years just trying to find you so I could finally let you know it was your son's heart that saved me, and a life you gave us both. Just like that, your life can change. Look what the angels send. I laid my head upon his chest, and I was with my boy again. Well, I spent so long in darkness, I never thought the night would end. But somehow grace has found me, and I had to let him in. Na, 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 na.
Take a breath. Thank God this is a safe place to cry. And it might be clear to you in a moment why that song was so powerfully important to me this week. You know these words. Thou shalt love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Words found in the Gospel according to Matthew, but which originate in the book of Deuteronomy, in the book of Leviticus. The ultimate statement of Hebraic and Christian scriptures about the concept of love. But before we get to these commandments, the first book of the Hebraic scripture tells this story. After these things, God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham, and he said, Here I am. And he said, Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains that I shall show you. Philosopher Simon May explains in his book, Love, a History, without, it seems, the slightest resistance, without any apparent search for explanations or justifications, Abraham takes his son to the place where God tells him to sacrifice. The sacrifice must happen. It isn't as if Abraham has no time to agonize. God makes him travel to Mount Moriah, a 3-day journey, bind Isaac, lay him upon an altar, and slay him. But then, just as Abraham raises his knife over his son, he finds his hand stayed by an angel, a messenger of God. Again, he obeys the divine order without expressing surprise or even relief at the abrupt change of plan. Again, he seeks neither to explain nor to justify. But why, asks the philosopher, does this make Abraham a hero? Isn't his obedience revolting? And what kind of God would it please? What kind of God would command a man to murder both his son and his sense of what is right and just to do? This sounds like religion at its most perverse. Leading human beings, including great and noble human beings like Abraham, to do evil for the sake of what they take to be God's will and to imagine themselves blessed by doing so. This is the sort of faith that puts allegiance to God before humanity and to our fellow beings, shows no remorse or compassion for the suffering it causes, and desires no explanation for the actions beyond the deed, as it sees it, for obedience to supreme power. Worse, says the philosopher, Abraham, unlike a crusader, an inquisitionist, or a suicide bomber, doesn't even consider the victim deficient or guilty. Isaac, for his part, is meekly compliant, traveling to this place of slaughter without ever questioning his father's actions. And God seems not only cruel, but hypocritical. For this same God issues the commandment to all humanity not to murder, and demands that the father of the Jewish people, indeed the father of the 3 Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, a moral exemplar if there ever was one, do exactly that. Let's be clear, this is exactly the argument that's been going on between those within and between the Abrahamic traditions and the critics of religion for eons. The philosopher notes, here the atheists are right. If pity trumps all, then however much theologians insist that we can interpret biblical texts in the light of human values or inform our ideas about the divine with the morality of respect and dignity, equal value and diversity for all human life, ideas which can themselves be culled from some, if not all, of the passages of Scripture. The reality is, morality will necessarily lose out if it happens to conflict with obedience to divine commandments. Surrendering to absolute commands that are to be obeyed no matter what is the womb of inhumanity and totalitarianism, even if those commands have human welfare as their goal. Commenting on this history, the philosopher notes that theologians have historically tried to respond to this critique by, one, either reinterpreting the offending biblical texts in light of humane values, or two, sideline them as products of their day that linguistically we can no longer understand, or three, fudge the issue by declaring them mysteries beyond our understanding. And critics of religion will cite the evil done in the name of religion from the Crusades to the Inquisition to September 11, concluding that it is a debate without terminus. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. For I think the debate is limited by forms of literalism on both ends of the spectrum that ignore the power of narrative to speak to the deepest reality of human longing, to the loved, to be loved, to be known, to leave a legacy, to make a difference, to know true intimacy. Those are actually what I find so powerful in Bonnie Raitt's song, another song of sacrifice, but a different one. The theologian in me looks at this very same passage and asks if it, instead of being a literal example of obedience to the divine unto the murder of one's child, is instead biblical allegory. Biblical allegory that shocked the sensibility of those who were first intended to hear it centuries ago. I believe that. I believe that the community that first heard this story was as shocked as we are today. And what if, instead of reflecting filicide in the face of divine obedience, it reflected a deeper question? Not, are you willing to kill that which is most precious for you in service to divine obedience? But instead, what is ultimately sacred to you? And in those moments when you come to the precipice of your own despair, like a mother whose child dies, and find yourself ready to sacrifice all that is precious to you out of grief and anger, what awareness calls you back from the brink of that despair? This is, for me, the essence of love, as it is reflected in the Hebraic texts and carried forth in the words of the prophet in Christian scriptures. By wedding these two commandments, love God, love the sacred, if you will, and love your neighbor, we have an answer to reflect that terrible moment in Genesis. Obedience to both is essential to understand either. Love of God asks us to continually reflect on what is sacred to us, and as we move through the world that offers us plentiful opportunities to align with powers and principalities that demand our fidelity. Love of neighbor asks us to continually reflect on the power of that which is love to serve something larger than ourselves, and that which resides deepest in each of us. That terrible moment of decision that is the genesis of a song that brings us to tears. These two commandments can be ossified, either of them, ossified into actions and ethics that undermine the very principles they reflect. This is the challenge of humanity in general, in each of us individually. How many times have we awakened to the news that lives have been taken in the names of one's faith or one's sense of the way in which the world should work, or out of a terrible sense that evil is everywhere? How many times have we grieved the outcome of moments when love of neighbor is extended only to those who are identified in our own proximity, or our own flesh, or our own blood? To succumb to this tendency is to forget the genius of the Hebraic ethic at the heart of the terrible narrative of sacrifice. As the philosopher notes, this points to one of the Torah's most radical innovations, that henceforth one is to offer up to God not so much material things like gold and animals, as one's whole inner world, that labyrinth of intentions and desires and moral intuitions of which one's actions are merely a rough expression. The Torah does not prohibit such explicit actions as, or the Torah does not just prohibit such explicit actions as lying and stealing and incest and deception and bearing false witness. It also penetrates to one of the most secret emotions and thoughts. You shall not hate in your heart any one of your kin. You shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. And dramatically, in the book of Proverbs, the human spirit is the lamp of the Lord. Search every innermost part. And please don't get me wrong here. I am not arguing that belief in God is essential to the experience of the depths of love. Far from it. The power for me of such admonitions is not one's relationship to God, but the journey of humanity to apply its most creative and self-giving precepts to the depths of human experience and thought, especially in our most vulnerable and terrible moments. In other words, each moment of triumph or terror, we are invited to ask ourselves, what's love got to do with it? How shall we or I respond to this moment that is a reflection of my or our deepest values, our most essential self? How can this moment be an impetus for life and for love? And so a mother gives birth to two lives because she chose the larger life. That, my friends, is what love has to do with it. Amen, and blessed be. Would you please join together in singing our closing hymn, found again in your gray hymnals, number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere. Please rise in body or in spirit. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more May the light of love surround us, the embrace of love enfold us, the power of love protect us, the guardian of love watch over us, forever knowing where we are, love is. Amen. And blessed be. Please be seated.
Love is
We have a moment for short verbal announcements. If anyone has any announcements to share, there are varieties of things happening this afternoon, not the least of which is the Lessons of Lost class that will meet in the lounge at 3, and another session of Beyond Inquirers that will happen at 7 for those of you who are not already glued to your television sets. And I just have to say, as a Pennsylvania boy at heart, that my prayers today go for those who are Eagles, but you can root for whoever you want. So, any other announcements today? Go ahead. And puppies.
Some of you may not be thinking of June, but General Assembly is in Pittsburgh, the General Assembly of the UUA. If ever you wanted to drivable General Assembly for in-person, this is going to be an eventful one, and I encourage folks, if you're thinking about it, start putting your pennies away. I'm planning on going and would love company.
Great. Mara.
Hi, I'm Mara Pentlarge. I will be reaching out to folks on the topic of exploring racism, our own personal racism. I want to offer a chance for people to process experiences of noticing it, of feeling it, of witnessing it, of wondering about it. So eventually there will be a support group for people to talk about and process the feelings involved about racism.
Yes, absolutely. So, once again, beloved, worship in this space has come to an end. Our service continues first with an opportunity for refreshment and conversation. May yours be a wondrous and wonderful week. I hope to see you back here very, very soon.